Welcome back to Appalachian Dim Sum.
Where entertainment is our comfort food.
And this is episode 60, and it's actually a continuation of the main course for the month. We're calling it Second Helpings.
Yeah, we got into Akira, the plot points, kind of running through the major parts of the plot, and then got into looking at the creator of it, Katsuhiro Otomo, and kind of how he developed through drawing comics and manga to actually producing this film as one of his first films.
And running through the plot is what we did. I think that was the fastest we've ever gone through any plot ever.
Especially one that has as many things going on there.
Right.
There was one thing that was like, there's a bunch of stuff that happened in this part, and it was these things, because each one of those was 20 minutes of description if we got into them.
Yeah, as we were talking about it, in my head, I kept saying, like, well, this also happened, but we could skip that.
yeah, there are lots of little things that we kind of just blew through. But
yeah, which is fine. We just did like a high-level overview.
Gives you more reason to watch the movie if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you haven't watched this movie and you consider yourself an anime fan, then stop what you're doing and do that by the end of the week. That's your homework assignment.
Yeah, I don't qualify fans or gatekeep or anything. I try not to do that very much, but it's definitely, if you're a fan of anime, you need to have Akira under your belt. You just do.
Yeah,
I would say.
I don't think it's
that we might do that at some point is like essential anime.
Might not be gatekeeping as much as maybe at least that's the ticket booth.
Right.
If you want to come on the property,
you got to have seen
Akira. You got to buy an Akira ticket.
So. But we're gonna, in this episode, in the second helpings, we're gonna look at the themes. That are present in Akira, or at least what we see. And also the legacy of Akira. At least we're gonna dip our toes into that.
There's things that jumped out to us that we immediately thought of kind of watching this, and that's probably not even touching the hundreds of things that could be other things that people will tie to Akira. So
and a couple of them, I don't even know if the people who made the films would even say that they were inspired by Akira, but it's such a, again, Lawnmower Man is the one I'm thinking of explicitly. Like it is such an obvious comparison. It's like it might have been one of the, what do they call it, when it's simultaneous creation, that sort of thing. But it's just the things that happen in Lawnmower Man and the themes that are in Lawnmower Man and the characterization is such a takeoff of what happens in Akira. I guarantee you they were at least aware of Akira.
There's always the possibility too that somebody saw it, copied it, and just completely lied about copying it.
Yeah. Well, you have the whole joke stealing issue where like a comedian will hear a joke and they'll forget they hear the joke, and then they make a joke and they're like, "This is my joke." It's like, that's harsh for any creator. Yeah. But we'll go through some of the legacy media that we think Akira touched.
Yes.
All right, and we'll be back with themes. All right, welcome to our discussion on the themes that are present in Akira, or at least the ones that we see.
Yeah, some of them are pretty obvious, and I think one of the ones I've got kind of sectioned out is maybe quite as many people, at least here in the West, probably don't see or probably weren't looking for, but probably also live themselves, so maybe that's why they don't see it, but we'll get to that one in a second. But I think it's definitely the obvious one. We're sitting there looking at the picture behind us is the
atomic bombs.
He started writing this in 82, talking about Katsuhiro Otomo, and wrote it for 8 years. 80s was full of nuclear news with us and the Soviet Union and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about people that were adults in the 80s were kids right after the end of World War II. And I think that's what Otomo did. You look it up that Otomo was like born in the early 50s or something?
I think it was like 54.
Yeah. So he's a little bit different of a mentality than a kid that was like born, like maybe in like 35 or something, that actually grew up and then saw his country get defeated.
Yeah, he was born in 1954. Yep.
Yeah. So he was definitely in we weren't out of Japan until 51, 52, something like that, without looking.
Okay, so he was like born in the post the American occupation of Japan.
It's almost like a new colony called Japan, because they really was forced into being reshaped at that point. So, and then you get into him and the student Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli and all those guys. How much of everything they have is kind of anti-war and post-war messages and stories and stuff that he's definitely coming along through that vein. The Akira, the first movie that really came out to kind of do that was Godzilla. It came out in '54, the year he was born.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
And everybody thinks, oh, Godzilla's a cool monster movie. It's like, go back and watch the first movie. It's not really a monster movie. It's Godzilla was not the monster. He's not like a force of evil. He was a byproduct. He's a reaction to an evil, power hungry government, and that's the thing that people in Japan were trying to grasp, is like that. I think we were the bad guys, and how do we move forward here? Because our relatives and our family fought on that side, and probably an interesting like research kind of paper or psychology thing to get into, of how you grow up in that kind of environment. I don't fully understand it. I'm directly descended from it, and have been interested in a lot of like post Civil War history, because I had family members that fought for Lee and on his side, and they lost, and they came in and were subjugated for the next couple of decades. And so it's the same thing with Japan. So it's a mindset I don't think a lot of people have a very good grasp on right now, or these days at least, without going back and really researching some history. But
I think that there's probably a lot of, and this is shown in the films, is it's a lot of the government imposing their will upon the people, and it's not necessarily maybe that the people and the individuals had malice intent. It's that they were following the government that had malice of intent.
Yeah. At this point in the film Akira, you're in I almost say a post US 2026 world, where
very, very much
you have a very two-sided world, and a government that everybody on both sides confuses the other side, or accuses the other side of being corrupt and evil. And
you could add like a line to at the beginning of Akira and be like, oh, due to a pandemic, there are lockdowns and people are revolting, and it'd be like, okay, yeah, sure.
You get the societal decay and all the conspiracy stuff that's kind of is like the background of all of this, and it's like, that doesn't sound familiar at all, does it?
Right.
You walk outside, and go to downtown Roanoke on Saturday night, and you come back and you're like, okay.
And the government in Akira is presented as self-serving, is presented as power hungry. Like they are the antagonists of this entire story.
Yeah. And then there's that struggle in there too. You have the military and the like what was it, the super executive council, or the superior executive council,
like the Congress,
which is the group of people that make decisions for your interests. And really, I think I said something about that when we were talking about the plot stuff, that Akira and Tetsuo are really the same. It's the same plot line, same sort of storyline, just recycling history, repeating itself. That there's debate of like they wake up Akira, was Akira just being kind of reborn into Tetsuo, or is it just a power source that's in everybody, and just some people channel it or something like that?
They say at one point, they talk about how like amoebas are hungry, and I think the idea is that there's a power that exists, that humans and all of nature are capable of great destruction and great creation, and that humans are uniquely capable of almost a transcendence that these espers are able to tap into.
Yeah.
And that's what happens to Tetsuo, is he starts to tap into this capability that is in everyone, but maybe certain people are just more sensitive to it.
Yeah. And really, while I'm on that sort of kick on the post-war stuff, that's kind of what I thought was the other kind of big theme in it, and it's the absence of fathers. And
they are all orphans.
Yeah, and it's not from the same point that you think that when you say that here, you're thinking, well, it's just dads that don't want to take responsibility and are being baby daddies and all that kind of stuff. That culture that's here, it's like absence of fathers. And when you're thinking of this in terms of Japan, is one, they lost an emperor, and be like us having not just a king, but almost sort of like a what we would kind of hold as like a Jesus level king, that he was a deity and that he was supernatural and he was pure and good. We pantsed the emperor in front of the world and paraded him around. It's like, look at this little dude. It's like, this is your deity, and humiliated him, humiliated that whole side of that culture. Um, he was the head of the nation, and you kind of cut that off, and that's a tough thing for this is you're thinking about it too. This is not like an internet society. This is a society that got their information off of the little radio by the family table, and that was very curated information that was given to them. And even up until the end of the war, most people thought Japan was winning, and then all of a sudden it was like,
nope.
They did what? They blew up what city?
That definitely could be seen in both the deification of Akira and the little religious group that they show.
Yeah.
So Akira,
I think if you like
if you say Akira is like an emperor analog, and when the emperor was depanced, as you say,
that's historically that's the most accurate thing to say. Is it's just like they took him around on a little place everywhere you went to, and just like, here he is.
And when they did that, it destroyed something, and that was the explosion for Akira, but also created something.
The other part of the absence of fathers in post-World War II Japan is that most of the fathers were dead.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that you don't even think about, is that, like, I don't have the numbers of that, but the percentage of fathers that were killed in battle and killed in, on top of that, and killed in the two cities in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. There's a huge group of people that were just instantly removed from society. You had a lot of kids that were raised by grandparents, or sometimes even, I think you saw it in -1, in Godzilla -1, to where two different people, they find a child in the ruins of the city, just take the child and start raising it, and there's a next door neighbor that's like raising kids that aren't hers, because that was all that was left. Right. It was just, it's like you could either like, well, let these kids like just wander around outside your house until they starved to death and died in the street, or you could start raising, sort of step up and start raising them again. That's another reality that I don't think people can really grasp. I mean, if you go back, and I love that in -1, if you go back and look at how they portray Tokyo at the beginning of that, and how it was literally just years after, just rubble still. And as he got a job to start working, collecting mines and all that stuff, or clearing mines for the Navy, he got enough to like build a little stick and paper house, and it's still in the middle of all this other rubble. And again, when you're having McDonald's Uber to your house and, and charging your electric car, you're not thinking of a world like that.
I'm not sure if this, as an American, it's kind of embarrassing to admit that I don't know our own history, but thinking about culturally, I don't really see a similar addressing of single parenthood or fatherlessness after like World War II. Because I mean, that obviously had to have happened, because a lot of men died in World War II.
Yeah.
Because like right after World War II, that was your like Leave It to Beaver,
that's
that era where they really were.
That's when that whole baby boom started, as all the soldiers came back.
Right, they came back, and then there was a baby boom. But
yeah.
there had to be a kind of like you're saying, the fatherlessness issue where the dads died, or is it that most of the men died, didn't have children because they were too young?
I think that's probably a little bit of the difference between our war effort and their war effort, is that they got so depleted by the end. If you get into the history of like even like kamikaze pilots and stuff towards the end, where they were just desperate, just trying to figure out ways to stop our advance on them, they were taking pilots, giving them sometimes less than 8 hours of training, putting them into a plane, and like, go find somebody and blow it up. And
so it was just the percentage of the men that were killed in the war.
You burn through
dwarfed what was in America.
You burn through your 18 and 20-year-olds in the first year or two of it, because once we started advancing through the Pacific, it wasn't it was very violent warfare, and we lost a lot of people, but not on the scale that they did. I mean,
Also, they were involved in World War II for a lot longer than we were.
It,
so
there's a lot of our men were taken captive and eventually released. They were treated horribly when you get down into the Philippines and Bataan and that area. But the Japanese that were on islands where they lost the battles stayed in holes, and we had literally had to go around with flamethrowers and just burn them in the holes because they wouldn't surrender.
Well, there was that one story. The guy was like 20 something years after the war, and he was still on his post in some island.
Yeah. So I mean that you have that, and then
that just goes right into this is, I think this is more of an 80s kind of theme, is youth rebellion.
Well, really, if you stay on the fathers thing for another segment on that, that when you get into the 80s part, you got that next generation. Once Japan got rebuilt and started to kind of get prosperous again, and then started to kind of exceed us in terms of prosperity.
Well, that was in the 80s was when you started hearing about how technologically advanced Japan is compared to America.
So that next group of people went into business, and they became that big businessman generation. And those guys were absent because they
were working all the time.
They would get up, go to work before any of the kids were up. Even if whether they finished work, they had to go out with their companies and go to karaoke or go drinking with the guys so that it could be a cohesive unit. And then come back home at 10 o'clock after everybody's in bed. There were kids that never saw their dads. And
you mentioned before in a previous segment that Otomo left home pretty early because he wanted to go out on his own, and he wanted to write, or not write, but he wanted to draw for a living.
And every time I hear about those kind of stories in Japan, it's like you don't ever hear like, oh, my mom and dad didn't want to let me go.
Yeah.
It seems like in Japan they're like, good luck.
Yeah.
The guy from Jiro Dreams of Sushi goes out to start being a sushi chef, learn sushi when he's like 14.
Oh, jeez.
And his dad's like, okay, bye. Do it well.
Yeah.
Don't shame us. And you're like, wow, okay. You had 14-year-olds here. They're like, Mom, make me some pizza pockets on my video. I can play my video game.
Yeah. Anymore, it's a decade after that.
And then you take that generation, that next generation is kind of the ones that were raised by, and I think that's where our Western culture from the 60s and 70s kind of infected a little bit of Japan too, where even the guys that were around their families, it was just such a demasculinized group of people that, and I think that completely came from us of being, whatever words you want to throw into that, the feminine movement and the kinder parenting and all that other kind of stuff, that the few fathers that were around were kind of
meek.
They were pantsed as well, just like the emperor. So you went through this 3 generations of kids that pretty much were absent any kind of like masculine male role models. And I think that background coming back into Akira is kind of, I think it's easy to see where he had the ideas of how to draw the society and how to, when you take all that away, it kind of gets into kids in motorcycle gangs fighting with other kids dressed as clowns in motorcycle gangs, and how quickly it evolves when you remove that from society. And he does that with, you kind of get that more in the end of the movie where Kaneda and Tetsuo, you get flashbacks to where they were both orphans.
In the orphanage.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you talk about how the Japanese culture got to where they were, and while there may have been similarities to how the West evolved, the similarities in the youth culture of like this biker gang, like thinking like the 80s, the biker gangs of the 80s in Japan, and essentially punk culture. Not necessarily in the West, it wasn't really centered around bikes, but it was the aesthetics and the mentality and just the culture of the people who were the teens at the time seems very similar, and it seems like maybe we got to the same place from two different directions.
Well, again, their success and technology and all that stuff kind of came from us helping them rebuild.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was definitely American culture influenced the growth of Japanese culture.
I think that time of the 80s, there was that was a big meshing of cultures.
I've seen people make comments about how like the existence of anime is due to the American involvement in the rebuilding of Japan.
Yeah.
Like it's like that meme with the dominoes. It's like America drops a bomb on Japan, and then you get modern day anime.
Yeah. But the next note I had was about the Colonel. I think I mentioned that in the thing that's he's kind of my hero of the movie because he is the only like in Akira the film talking about Colonel Shikishima. Is that how you say it?
Good enough.
He's like the only old school man in terms of like sort of like a World War II era guy or a 50s era guy.
Oh, he's absolutely like a General Patton kind of guy, you know. Yeah.
He's trying to quell the out of control society with all the riots and stuff. He's military is sort of directing the police and backing up the police.
Well, he said multiple times throughout the films, he's like, "I'm a military man." Gotcha.
At the same time, he's trying to stop an out of control corruption in the government. The government's like, I can't remember what. Do you remember what the rat guy when he was taking money? What that was about? I remember like he flees with like a whole briefcase full of money.
I think it was just like bribes and stuff.
It
was just corruption.
Just random bribes.
Yeah.
There's probably maybe some more detail on that in the books too. I would hope, but I think that gets kind of just lumped into this one little rat character in the in the movie. And the Colonel, the same guy, Shikishima, he's trying to protect the psychic kids from being used by adults. And you think that like early in the movie, you think that this military group and the scientists are doing all these things to these kids, but it's like you find out that they're trying to keep the kids from blowing up Japan again. That they're trying to figure out what's wrong with them, how to keep them from getting out of control, and they're keeping them kind of at bay instead of like doing bad things to them. And that was always my assumption the first time I watched it, is like these kids are blowing up stuff with their minds because of what the government's doing to them. It's like, no, the government's trying to figure out how to keep them from blowing up stuff with their minds.
That's definitely something that an easy conclusion to come to when you're watching the movie is that these kids are this way because the government is making them that way. When it's more, and they kind of talk, like I said, they talk about the evolution of humanity and stuff like that. When it's more that these kids are experiencing these powers and the government is trying to control the power.
Yeah. And I think that's why at the end of the movie, the Espers like transport Shikishima away from all the destruction.
Yeah.
So he's protected. And I think that's a nod to the fact that they recognized that he was trying to help them and he was trying to protect them.
Oh yeah, the Espers definitely never seemed like they were afraid of him.
Yeah. So Shikishima is my guy. He's me if you put me into that movie.
He's definitely going with the whole father figure. He's definitely the father figure of the film.
There's societal decay and conspiracy everywhere, and he's the conspiracy theorist. It's like, what's wrong with all of y'all? But it's easy to come off of that movie the first time you see it thinking, Shikishima, he's the bad guy. But yeah, I thought the father thing was pretty interesting through that movie. I don't know I would have pulled that out from watching it the first time. A couple watches and a little bit of reading on stuff. It becomes if you kind of watch it with that framing, you'll see. I think you'll see it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But with the next thing on the themes, I don't know if you want to get into the creation of the Big Bang Theory or
sure. That's fine. I feel like this is kind of where they get into like the science jargon a little bit, where I know the manga goes into the idea of the Big Bang Theory and the initial explosion being like a singularity event. I didn't from watching it again when I watched it recently. I'm still not sure if that's actually what happened, or at least it doesn't come across that like that to me. It's like yes, Akira, the Espers, Tetsuo, they go somewhere else. They're no longer here. 100% agree. But like the idea that like they went and created their own universes, it probably goes into that in the manga. But
for me, it begs the question, we're dealing with number 25, 26, 27, and 28.
Right. What happened to all the other
ones before? How many times have they had to do the same thing, create a singularity, like an event horizon, and take all of this out of control power explosion into another universe? How many little different universes have they created?
I kind of figure there were 20 something kids who just died. Like didn't reach.
How would you kill them?
I think Akira is the only one that reached that status that Tetsuo reaches.
Seems to me like every time you try to kill them, they go out of control and blow up or blow you up. They don't blow themselves up. They wipe out entire cities.
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of get into that more background of this and find out if
you would think that they would, because the Akira event is one of those events. You would think we would know about other events if that were the case.
Yeah. How many times did it happen before there was like a lot of recorded history, or did they have kids?
Oh, see, I would take it that because what number was Akira?
Akira's number 28.
Yeah, 28. So
and
in my thought, it's like the Espers are like like all the Espers knew each other kind of thing. That's kind of how I took it. I again maybe wrong. It might go into
I have no idea if that's actually detailed at all. Just
I don't know how they would count them unless they knew who was one. I don't know how they would count them up to 28.
Yeah. It could be the random disasters across the world before then were different Akira showing up, almost like the Matrix. And how many times did they have to reinsert Neo before you just recycle the whole thing? And kind of gets you into the whole like legacy of the movie discussion. Is like, did the Matrix take any influence from any of this or not?
Right.
Yeah, they definitely sort of throw in. I like the science. What'd you say? The science jargon?
The scientific lingo jargon.
Yeah, that's a good broad sloppy term for the whole thing. I guess Kyoko towards the end of, I don't know if it's towards the end or the first time she kind of talks about the whole.
I think timeline wise, like toward the middle.
Yeah, in the middle. I might have been when
because it's before she's talking about all that with the Colonel before Tetsuo comes in and just destroys the like what do you call it, the nursery?
Yeah, the little, I was going to say the rainbow room, but that's in Stranger Things.
Yeah, the baby room. What do they call it?
I think it is the baby room.
The baby room.
That
yeah, because she had that bassinet that had the glass dome over it, and he destroyed that.
But Kyoko gets into this whole little diatribe about how that the energy that makes Tetsuo and Akira powerful is the same force that drives all life. And that's that whole sort of nonsensical thing that people try to talk about with dark matter and stuff around the Big Bang Theory, and then you ask them to explain that, and they're like, "Well, we can't." And they're like, "Okay," but she talks about how the amoebas and the fish and the humans that build cities they're all the same, and they're all using the same energy and not differentiating at all between people that are created in the image of God with the ability to create and to think and to make things with amoebas. And that's that whole science thing that it stands out to me, because when I see that stuff in any kind of show or movie or anything, it always seems like they're so serious and they think this is their chance to show to you that this is the science and it's right. And then once they start talking, it just sounds so stupid. It just makes me laugh. But the Esper's job, I guess according to Kyoko, is to guide the energy,
right,
and take it to the ultimate safe state so that a new world is born just like before. And
through a crazy big explosion that destroys a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And it's the idea,
yeah, sure.
The idea that so many people have that man can control nature.
Right.
Well, whether you want to say we can stop climate change by take away your truck.
It's the oldest sin of man, the sin to be like gods.
Yeah.
And that's totally what the whole thing about the Espers and humanity and amoebas craving power and letting that power consume them because they want to be like God.
Yeah.
I mean, even like I said, I don't know if I'm someday I'll read the manga, but I am interested to know if the manga gets into the idea that, well, Akira left and created a universe. Tetsuo left and created a universe. I didn't get that. I just got they transcended. They did go beyond our world, but I always took it as like not a heaven, but just like a higher state of conscious being. That's where they went. Yeah. Because if Akira created his own universe, so he left his universe. So like the god of another universe came back to usher in another god to another universe. That seems a bit bloated. If you
kind of like the Big Bang Theory.
But and like Tetsuo, but if you use the word, it just seems a bit bloated for the film, for what it might be trying to say. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
I think just the idea that there's something in humanity that causes us to want to continue to not only grow and strive to be better and strive to do better, strive to achieve more, but also strive to consume. Going back to the whole amoeba thing.
Yeah.
I think that's enough. I don't think you need to get into the whole, kind of like thinking about Shin Godzilla. Like, okay, he grew, he's huge, and he started to mutate into like individual like people versions of Godzilla. That's interesting. But then you look at what they planned, and he was going to become a planet and then a galaxy.
He was going to start consuming other galaxies.
Right. And like, that idea is cool, but you don't really need all that to say what you want to say.
Yeah, Kyoko goes on to talk about how humanity chooses to make a new and better future, which again is that whole idea that man is going to control nature.
Yeah.
She talks about how transformation / evolution, I think she says transformation more often than the word evolution, is always underway. And that characters are returning to the energy pool that somehow has consciousness.
That is a very Eastern concept, though.
Yeah.
That it's like the whole Gaia theory, where when you die, you go back into the energy of the universe, and then you get reborn. I mean, that's a cultural thing, I think.
Yeah. The again, I'm always fascinated by like scientists, and I think that's where a lot of sci-fi is kind of born out of, is people that think they've read about some super new science theory and stuff like that, and if we made this into a fiction, what would we do?
Well,
how they're trying to always prove something other than the creation story.
Well, science is constantly doing that. The latest thing I recently saw was they had some sort of imaging that they did of the Earth, and every like 27 seconds there's some sort of pulse that the Earth has. And the way they were framing this, I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline, and I was like, okay, that's interesting, and I scrolled by. I'm like, I don't feel like getting into that. But it said that scientists think the Earth may actually be alive. I'm like, okay, scroll past. But that the little blurb that I did read said that it's because of this like pulse. They attributed it like a heartbeat. Okay, just because something's pulsing doesn't mean that's a heartbeat, but whatever. But anyway, it kind of goes into that, where it's they are always trying to discover God without acknowledging God.
Too many people are fascinated with like this version of rebirth or something that will start everything over so that it'll be better next time.
Yeah.
Because that's the easiest way to face the reality and deny like what your purpose here is, and that having to acknowledge what you've done with your time versus what you could have done with your time. People here get into their selfish pursuits and stuff all the time, and then this dude sat around and drew comics for 7 days a week almost.
Yeah.
12 to 14 hours a day. So I'm sure he's got a little bit of regret probably going on there. So
I don't know. He created something that's gonna last. So
yeah, it's I don't think when people are gonna be like, man, I really miss that Otomo guy. It's gonna be more like, hey, have you seen Akira?
Yeah,
you'll attribute it to him, but it's not gonna be. That's a different memory than like your kids and your grandkids remembering you,
right?
Kind of thing, and passing on stories and stuff about you. But
does he have children?
Oh,
I have no idea. I didn't look into his personal life at all.
I did not look into it. I think when I saw his name there, it had his like place of birth and his age, and didn't list anything else. So I'm guessing not. But
one of the speaking of the idea that humans constantly grow and we evolve and change and all that, it's interesting that in the Esper's case, in Akira and Tetsuo, they grew and they evolved and they became something more than human. To what end? Like, okay, so they go to another plane to start over in another plane of existence.
Yeah.
And what about this existence? Like their transcendence doesn't benefit the humans here in any way.
So,
if anything, it's a detriment to us.
So you're saying that people that don't believe in God are pretty good at throwing away life?
Yeah, they definitely threw away.
So they can have a better future.
I mean, that's all what it is. They sacrifice the rest of us so that they can go on to do something better.
Never
heard that's what the Espers are doing.
Never heard of anybody that claims to be like a big science guy ever pushing forth anything like
no,
that.
Definitely not.
Or releasing any kind of virus trying to do that. But the theory that something came from nothing and that nothing was a dense state that evolved is always one of those things where you're like,
well, all of that there are so many different tendrils to that from the Big Bang Theory, the idea that we came from a infinitesimal point and everything.
They get to the point they can't explain anything, and they start to like try to use math and come up with these theories about dark energy and dark matter, and it's just like, why don't you just say that you don't know and that you're just making up stuff at this point?
Well, the tendrils that come off of the Big Bang Theory and the different theories that have been proposed to explain the Big Bang Theory are all just suppositions. It's like I've heard that, like, okay, well, the Big Bang, before the Big Bang Theory, there were other universes. That's a popular one. That the universe can't, like, our universe, similar to this. The Akira would follow this. Our universe came from another universe. That's one that's I've heard.
I hear what was here before the cosmos, and people are like, well, nothing. And then your next question says, like, so nothing exploded, and then you get that look on their face where most people aren't able to try to start explaining what they think dark matter is.
There is a mathematical equation, and I am not good in math, and I'm not smart enough to fully understand this, but I can at least tell you what I do understand. Where, like, the number 0 is indistinguishable mathematically from the concept of infinity. So nothing exploded, but everything exploded. It's like double speak. Like, I'm literally that's as far as I understand. I follow what they're trying to say, but I don't understand it. Yeah.
Can't admit that we were created. Go through all these links to go through to just overlook the obvious that we were created. We sinned right out of the gates. That God removes those sins and forgives us, and we're not good enough to earn it. But we live our lives trying to be good. Those who believe we try, we make mistakes, we learn, we accept responsibility, and we try again. That's kind of the cycle of our life. Atheism and science, they want a world where they're never wrong and that they're not responsible and it's always someone else's fault. And if these people wouldn't do this or these people wouldn't do that, we'd have a utopia. Mm-hmm. If they weren't rich, then
if everyone would just do what I want,
yeah. If they weren't rich, then if they didn't consume so much, then we wouldn't have to worry about who's rich and all this, and it's always somebody else's fault. And it's like that whole, I was just, it kind of got me into going into all this again after watching the movie, because you see all that science mumbo jumbo stuff that they kind of throw out here, and it looked to me like just another attempt. I've seen it so many times of people trying to put out this theory of, it's like when you talk about the girl in Midnight Mass, when she starts describing what she thinks happens when she dies, and she just basically says the same thing, that we're all cosmic farts, and and then we all just return to a source of energy.
They say it a little less eloquently.
Yeah. My version is saying the exact same thing. I'm saving some words.
After a few months after Midnight Mass, thinking back about the fact that they included all that commentary and everything, it's like, that was really out of place. Like, it didn't really fit the whole, hey, there's a demon this guy found in the Middle East.
I guess is why I bring it up here, because it cracks me up when people, they look for that opening to be like, oh, this is where I can tell people and I can prove that I'm right, and then they have a chance to prove it, and they come out and they're like, well, cosmic fart, dark matter. I'm like, I mean,
okay. We all like our soapboxes, right? Wave to the camera. We like our soapboxes, but I think that's what a lot of creatives do. They get to a point where they're like, I have something to say. and I'm going to say it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the one of the things I find frustrating about a lot of YouTube videos where they're like theology and philosophy YouTube videos. Like I've listened to a lot of like the new atheists and stuff like that, just to, hey, let's hear what you got to say. And then as I'm listening to it, I'm like, I have something to say about that, but like if I just go in the comments, like no one's going to talk, no one cares.
Yeah.
But you're on your soapbox and you can say it to the world. So hey, yeah.
I love Akira.
Oh yeah,
because of the style and the storytelling and the animation, and I love what it opened the door for. It kind of really, all of the anime that followed, I think, is tied directly back to it owes the release of this film and the creation of this film for its existence. If you like Chainsaw Man and you like Dan, then you should thank Katsuhiro Otomo. But I think it's worth noting where those beliefs come from.
But before we move on from the themes, and I hadn't really considered this too deeply, so this is just while you were talking about all the different themes, I considered this. And we've discussed before how you can almost shove any perspective and any message into almost anything, right? I mean, you could be like, well, if you consider this, it might be this. And I got one of those. Akira could be like a Christ allegory. If you take away the whole fact of he himself transcended, but I'm considering Akira and Tetsuo. Tetsuo is trying to be like a god, and his own selfish ambitions overtakes him and almost corrupts him completely.
Mm-hmm.
That's sin. Sin is consuming him literally,
and
it's consuming those around him too. And they have to depend on someone outside of him to save him. That is very much a Christian theme.
Yeah.
Where salvation doesn't come from within Joel or Randy. Salvation comes from outside.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just like that literally occurred to me while you were talking, and I'm like, that's, if you wanted to see that, you could, like, someone could write a paper on that easily.
Yeah, you could try to pull that out of there.
Yeah. You could pull a lot of stuff out of a lot of places. But like you were saying, I mean, like you could argue that, but then when you start looking at like the stuff that the other espers were saying about humans have it within us and stuff, like it does break down when you consider the things that were actually said.
This sounds like a high school student or a high school teacher that is too much into Star Trek trying to explain evolution to kids. All the reason to just stay out of public schools.
But I would say similarly to like Evangelion, like even though the existential themes that are touched upon in Akira don't align with mine, it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm like, it's a cool thing to think about.
I guess that's one of the things about acknowledging creation and the truth and just being in a good spot with all of that is that I can watch any kind of fiction and enjoy it.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm gonna laugh at things that are silly this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
I'm not gonna
I don't believe humans ever become gods of our own universes. So the idea that a human might do that is amusing.
I'm not going to condemn this movie and say don't watch this because this is anti-Christian.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to say this is a really cool movie with a lot of cool animation, and if you want to laugh at some scientists trying to convince you about some kind of Big Bang thing, then you can watch that scene of Kyoko talking.
Yeah. Now the one part of Akira that I could point to and be like, that is referencing Christianity, is at the Singularity event. Like the screen is completely white. Kaneda is like floating in nothingness, and you hear, "I am Tetsuo," and Christ said, "I am who I am. I am that I am." So that, to me, that could be what was kind of pointing at, well, he's becoming a god, is the I am part.
That's the difference between I think the Japanese culture and ours is it's a god, not the god.
Yeah.
He's wouldn't it be cool if I was just like one?
Yeah.
Well, you can't be. So
eat that fruit, and ye shall be as gods.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. Any other themes you want to talk about?
I think the obvious ones are the post-war stuff. Yeah. The father of this thing, I think, is an interesting thing. If you like to get into, if I have any contribution to the world of anime and entertainment and stuff, it's to encourage people to go back and actually study history and see how much of what you enjoy as current properties and even past properties are things that are based off of lots of historical things or are motivated by it and or influenced by it, and that it's not all just some crazy guy came up with this cool comic, that it's born out of a series of events that shaped this whole part of the world.
The whole fatherlessness theme for Akira could very well be one of those things where like it's there. He wasn't explicitly talking about it, but it's just there. Like you're saying, it was influenced by the culture.
He's in it.
Yeah.
Once you're in it, you're in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think it's kind of neat to be able to sort of see how somebody that grows up in that thing, the kind of world that they create. I don't think I would create the same kind of background world that he did. If I was creating the world that he made in Akira at this point, it would be based off of the last 6 years here.
Well, what we were saying, it's actually interesting that how appropriate the world that they created back in the 80s feels as an allegory for today.
And I've always said that about that's
really
always fascinates me with Japan, is like they have this weird, I guess because they're not tied to our same kind of beliefs and things, that they have this weird observational power that almost is like kind of prophetic about where our country is going and stuff. There's a lot of things in a lot of these shows that are like, wow, that's a crazy future, and then like, oh yeah, that happened in that's Baltimore last year, or that's this place last year.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because a lot of the themes that they deal with are just like what it is to be human.
Yeah.
And in the end, no matter the culture, we are human.
Well, if you think about all the stuff in the news too, there are very few things that have happened here in the last little bit that really involve Japan. Right. They, even when you get back to the pandemic stuff, they're just like, see you guys, like you're not coming here, we're not going there. Yeah. They sort of closed themselves off, and you had all this crazy stuff going on in Australia and in Europe and in here, and they're just like, nah, y'all aren't coming here. And it seems like they're on the sidelines watching the world a lot more than they are sticking their fingers into everything in the world.
They're the salary man. They are the salary man of the world. They got their head down. They're going forward. They got their job. They're doing their job.
And I think that gives
they're not having kids. That
gives them that unique position to just be able to see the rest of the world, I think, in a way that everybody else doesn't, because we're always thinking of what about us, or how does this benefit us, or how does this affect us, and blah blah blah. And they're just like, kind of feel like sometimes they're sitting back like just watching like a tennis match, like, man, y'all are some crazy daggone people. keep that stuff over there, don't bring it here.
Well, in our next segment, we're going to talk about how Akira affected media.
Yeah.
So
and
there's talk about the legacy of Akira.
Tons of stuff to go with that. We'll try to pick a few.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you in that one
later.
All right. Welcome to the next segment of our second helping episode.
Yeah.
Where we're going to talk about the lasting effect or the legacy of Akira.
And this won't be probably super comprehensive because we haven't really thought about this one too much. There were some things that jumped out at us and some things that were kind of obvious about things that kind of were born out of Akira, and I'm sure there are hundreds of others that I'm not even thinking of, and you probably do a whole, I think we talked about that before, that we could just do like a podcast on Stephen King stories or something. It's like you could probably do a podcast on everything that related to Akira.
And there's also a lot of like you could point to things that might have influenced Akira, kind of like Superman. Like Akira was like just Superman gone amok.
Yeah.
At least in the beginning. But I don't think Superman, generally speaking, I don't think Superman was influenced by Akira.
I don't imagine.
And it's kind of like that with a lot of the American comics. Like we had mutants, we had people with superhero type abilities, but I wouldn't really attribute any of the modern, like let's say Marvel ideas to Akira.
Yeah.
Some of the movies, Chronicle is a good one, where we would see Chronicle and we would think, hey, well, that was inspired by Superman or whatever. It's like, well, it's probably more inspired by Akira than it was Superman. The extraterrestrial element where they found a was like a meteorite, and that's what gave them powers. Okay, that's more like Superman than is Akira. But the themes and especially the progression of the characters, the character development within Chronicles, totally mirrors Akira.
It's interesting that you brought that one up first, because that was one of the notes I made while watching this the other night. I was like, this is totally Chronicle.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. It's because that relationship with the characters. Chronicle, Dane DeHaan is the actor that played Andrew Detmer in that, and I think Alex Russell was his kind of like, he wasn't a brother, he was just a friend, wasn't he?
Right.
Then Michael Jordan was the other like friend that they got the same powers, and the two of them were kind of like having fun with it. And the what was his name, Andrew, was completely like bullied in school. So like, I mean, you get into some pretty graphic stuff in Chronicle. Did you remember like he pulls like then he pull a guy's teeth out?
Yeah.
Like
it's been a while since I watched the movie. You gotta watch it again. That was a good film.
He does like just like psychically like extracts a guy's like teeth or something, and he kind of goes back after everybody that came after him. And I can't remember the arc with the girl, but it almost kind of develops almost exactly like Akira, to where like he comes to downtown instead of the military kind of coming to fighting, the other two friends come to try to stop him, and they're just destroying downtown. And
yeah, if like you could see Chronicle, you could see like maybe if in Akira, Kaneda got powers as well, and they sort of had that a little bit with Kay, where she was being controlled by the Espers.
Yeah.
So they did have a little bit of that.
Yeah, then when you talk about it that way, you kind of skip the part like with the military trying to stop Tetsuo on the way to the stadium, where it gets to Kaneda with his rifle and Kay with the psychic powers kind of taking turns trying to fight him and just not being able to stop him because he was so powerful. It really makes it seem like, wow, they really were influenced by this.
Right.
But that's a really good Chronicles. It's not one of the first ones. It's probably one of the main ones, though. I guess after oh my goodness, what was the monster movie? There was a sort of like a
Super 8.
Oh no,
Cloverfield. Yeah.
No, not. I guess found footage, is that the right word?
Yeah.
For those are first person perspective of them, somebody filming it and kind of following them around. Chronicle was very much the same way, and probably the two main movies from that kind of style of stuff that I really liked. I know there's a ton of them.
That's hilarious because thinking about that, those two, Chronicle and Cloverfield. Yeah, Cloverfield is very much a found footage movie in my mind.
Yeah,
I kind of forgot Chronicle was a found footage film.
Yeah, he's filming himself most of the time, and then like he's even using his psychic powers to like
move the camera and stuff.
The camera's like following him around, and like he's taping when he gets revenge on people.
And when he like goes downtown, it's like footage from like a cell phone or something like that.
Yeah, there's like surveillance cameras from the city that are just kind of showing like a static like angle, and then showing like him coming in and like blowing police back and blowing windows out of buildings and all that kind of stuff. So
I definitely think that's one of the more like direct influenced movies where you like you were saying, when you watch it, especially after watching Akira or with Akira in mind, you're just constantly saying, hey, that's like Akira.
I was thinking the same thing about Brightburn, but I think it's kind of more like Brightburn is really more the story of like what if Superman was bad.
Yeah, that was definitely a takeoff of Superman.
Definitely not a chase after this, but there's a lot of like imagery from this that kind of feels like Akira.
The cape,
yeah.
I mean, if I would be surprised if the cape wasn't a nod to Tetsuo.
Yeah, because he's just like, is he on his way to the stadium when he just stops and he gets like
No, he gets that from the bar, doesn't he? The cape. Isn't that like it's like a tablecloth or something?
Okay.
Yeah, he's like,
I know he gets it and he just kind of throws it around himself like, now I got a cape, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very similar to Brightburn, where he's just flying around with like a piece of cloth from his house or a curtain or whatever that is. He made like a little mask for himself so people wouldn't recognize him. I think the most direct thing that come from this is Stranger Things.
Okay.
That's I think the Duffer Brothers don't like. We talked about that, I think, in an earlier segment. The difference between borrowing from somebody and acknowledging it, and stealing from somebody and acting like you didn't. That the Duffer Brothers come out and openly say that their big two influences for Stranger Things was Akira and Elfin Lied or Lead. I don't know how you say that.
I've always said lead. I don't know if it's right.
That's probably right. Do not ever come to me looking for proper pronunciations.
I mean, which is a couple guys from Appalachia. Don't ask us. I mess up anyone's name, so it's fine.
Even talking about Akira, I say Kaneda. You're saying
Kaneda.
Kaneda.
I've always said Kaneda, but like in the films, it's always pronounced Kaneda.
Yeah. Who knows?
Anyways, and the only reason I pronounce it Kaori is that's how Tetsuo pronounces it. Kaori.
Yeah. I see that, and I'm like Kaori.
Yeah, right.
But the have you seen Elfin Lied or Lead?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I've watched some of that before, and I'm not into shows that because I think there's nudity and
she's naked like
at
least for the first couple episodes.
She's supposed to be a teenage-ish girl. And I was
Probably.
Just like,
yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, when she escapes, she's like wearing just a helmet.
But in that one, it's kind of really directly like him when he's leaving the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Just like she's blowing people up like with her mind, isn't she?
They're psychic hands. They're invisible psychic hands.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've seen an episode or two of it. I stopped because I'm like, this feels weird, man.
Yeah, she has the imperceptible to human vision. She has these like arms that come out from her back, and she just like beats the crap out of people with them.
That's one of the lines I have in anime. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing the weird kid thing. But going back to Stranger Things, obviously the kids in Stranger Things are numbered.
Yeah.
The main character is 11. And
yeah.
In Akira, you're dealing with 25, 26, 27, and 28. They all have telekinetic powers and Stranger Things. I think she even escapes 11 escapes in a hospital gown at the beginning of that series. And I never saw I guess I haven't seen the last season of Stranger Things.
Me neither. There's 5 seasons. I've seen through 4.
Yeah.
That's one place. If Stranger Things was inspired by Akira, as the Duffer Brothers say they were, one of the ways that they either deviated too far, I think, or kind of dropped the ball, was the idea that the person that came before the characters you're dealing with now. So the Akira character in the Stranger Things world is, what's his name? Can you just Google like the bad guy in Stranger Things?
Vesper.
I was thinking something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
But
that guy, when he becomes something else, he becomes something bad.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the difference between Akira and Stranger Things, is he becomes bad. The world he creates is an evil world, and it comes back to consume our world.
Well, that's kind of the I think that's a neat tie-in between this and Akira, because the Espers take away Tetsuo to this little, through the event horizon, into this little universe that he creates to keep him safe. So it's almost like they made what do they call it in Stranger Things?
Upside down.
The upside down.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's basically what they made in Akira, was they made it upside down, because you don't know that it's bad or whatever.
Yeah, to put it in like Judeo-Christian terms, in my mind, Akira transcended into heaven, but it can't be Vesper.
It's Vecna.
Vecna, there you go. Vecna. I was like, Vesper sounds like a Vespa, like a little motorcycle.
I know it's
Vecna, that's what it is. Vecna created, I'm pretty sure he created a hell. I wouldn't be surprised if they were, inspired by Akira, but also Silent Hill. Because the Upside Down has always seemed like I don't even know what it's called in Silent Hill. The alternate world.
I don't really remember the story in Stranger Things behind Henry Creel. He's the character that becomes Vecna.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they got into it. And I think at that point I was kind of losing interest into the series, but I think he had a lot of
times I lose interest in something when they say, "Oh, he's the bad guy." I like the idea of like nature. Like there's like the Upside Down was interesting because there's this world and it's corrupt and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Oh, no, but the entire thing is because of him.
Yeah.
It's like the Stephen King book Cell. Loved it. It was a fun book, but then they introduced, I think they called him the Raggedy Man. And it was like, oh, well, it's all because of this one dude. And I'm like, come on.
The little brief thing here says that Vecna or Hendry Creel was a former human at Hawkins' lab, twisted by the upside down into a monster that feeds on trauma.
Oh, that's totally Silent Hill.
Yeah,
man, that's exactly what that is.
It's totally Netflix too.
Yeah, true. Well, Stranger Things, based on true story.
Well,
that's the other thing is Stranger Things is also somewhat based on the Montauk Project, and it's an actual like conspiracy theory. And there are people who claim to have been a part of the project, and it was all like testing children and unlocking psychic powers. Well, we know back like in the 60s and the 70s, the government was doing stuff with like LSD and stuff. Like
that's what I was trying to think of. What do you call all the people that can get activated? What was that called?
Oh, the American Ultra Project.
The
American Ultra? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Ultra. That's not right.
That's the movie.
Yeah, MK Ultra.
MK Ultra.
Yeah.
MK Ultra.
Get there.
We get it. We take it together. We got it. Got it together.
Yeah, when you said something about like where they mistakenly veered off from Akira, I think that you could probably just say that was just by giving it to Netflix.
maybe.
Even if they had a good story going at the beginning of Stranger Things, and they just couldn't keep their Netflix people from Netflixing that whole series. Just why I never watched the last season of it.
It says that Netflix was influenced by Silent Hill. So, okay, if they were trying to combine the themes of those two properties, sure.
Yeah, you've got the same little government plot lines in both Akira and Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. Probably more direct as you have
it's the kids,
the kids room and the aesthetics of the labs,
and the numbering,
and then the labs in Akira with all the little kid stuff and the toys, and then they had the little rainbow room in Stranger Things where it was like they had to have like a kid's whatever you call it, like a little kindergarten type room for the kids.
Right.
That was where they kept all the kids contained, made them think that they're actually not just being experiments and all that stuff.
Well, then you have beyond that, because that's pretty like a direct like plot wise comparison and inspiration.
Yeah, I've seen the Duffer Brothers interviewed, and they reference both of those, Elf and Lead, and that's not really drawing anything. That's what they've said.
I mean, I could totally see Elf and Lead being like the 11 character based off of Lucy. Is that her name? It's been
an Elf and
20 years since I've seen that.
Yeah, so. I have no idea.
Let's see. Lucy.
Okay.
No, Nayu.
Okay. I'll take
your
word.
I think it's the same character. Yeah, the same character, Lucy and Nayu.
Gotcha.
But aside from that,
we'd already mentioned Lawnmower Man as being as a pretty direct, because it is same main character storyline, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't have I was going to say it doesn't have the experimentation on children, but if you consider Joe was childlike, yeah, kind of. It had the experimentation on monkeys, so it had the government experimenting on people.
On him.
Yeah,
so yeah.
So it has the government experiments and someone transcending, and Job even got to a point to where he it affected his physical body, like his instead of exploding, his physical body kind of went into a husk. Like he got sucked out.
And we say Lawnmower Man. I guess we should really be saying Cyber God, because that was the story.
The Lawnmower Man film
that became the film, because the Lawnmower Man story is about one of Pan's servants that walks around naked and eats grass.
Yeah.
So not related to
not related, but definitely the themes and the very loose plot of the Lawnmower Man film is very similar to what happens in Akira. I never heard, and this was literally only because we just watched Lawnmower Man last month. That's the only reason I made that comparison.
Would have never thought of those two
not at all
in the same breath, but when you're
It's right after another.
Right after the other, and you're like, oh yeah, that is too.
Yeah,
Like I said,
seems
that
similar.
probably I've already made a couple references that you could at least twist around the corner to get to the Matrix.
Yeah.
With some of this. So.
Well, the Wachowskis explicitly said that they were inspired by Akira, but I
Okay.
think it's more they like Akira.
Yeah.
And they were inspired to make the Matrix because they like Akira.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it was so much that yes, there is an idea of the one and transcendence and stuff like that, but
yeah,
it's loose at best.
Yeah.
Same with Ghost in the Shell. Some people say Ghost in the Shell was inspired by, but I don't know if it's so much that as it is, parallel creation.
Yeah. The man, it's been a little while on Ghost in the Shell. What is the
when was the manga written?
What is the main guy that is the sort of behind the scenes hacker?
What the name of the guy?
Yeah.
Who?
I'm getting there. It is. Oh Lord. I pulled up Ghost in the Shell and I get English and American cast, and I've got 58 people in front of me.
The Puppet Master, right?
Yeah, the Puppet Master.
Yeah.
I
was going over different names in my head, and I was like, that's one of them.
That's kind of the same way where he.
Oh yeah, he's the Akira of Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah,
I could see that. See, I didn't really make that comparison before.
Where he gets kind of corrupted by the power,
and he precedes Motoko,
mm-hmm.
and he's kind of trying to get Motoko to.
He kind of transcends too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean,
again, that's when you that's stretching.
But... Yeah, there's you can do a lot of stretching because the idea of transcendence, especially when it comes to like technology, and because with Akira, it's more of a spiritual transcendence, but like with Ghost in the Shell, Matrix, Lawnmower Man, I'll even throw Lane, Serial Experiment Lane. Have you ever seen that?
I think my son.
You might have it somewhere, right?
I think my son has it.
But like,
because I remember we had it here on a shelf, and I looked one time, and we don't have it, so I think it must be something that he owns.
Fantastic premise. Like the opening of Lane is like someone killed themselves, and the next day everyone gets a text from them. It's a great opening premise, but it is also the idea of like transcending into the digital realm kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah,
I did a real quick search, and again, this is us just starting to look and not even really thinking this through too much. What Google came back with when I said similar themes and style was Ghost in the Shell, Chronicle, Stranger Things, and Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Tetsuo the Iron Man?
1989 Japanese cyberpunk body horror film with similar themes of technological mutation.
Oh, it's not an anime.
I have no idea. I would assume it would have to be to pull that off in 1989.
Yeah, Google Tetsuo the Iron Man. It's
an actual film.
Yeah, it's a live action dude.
Wow,
that might be worth looking into. It's dude's like in a machine, and he's like half machine, and there's all these cables coming off of him, very reminiscent of Tetsuo's mechanical arm. That's interesting.
That's kind of disturbing. That's just still images. Yeah, I would have blanket assumed that was an anime, not a live action. But
all right, are there any other legacies that you would like to talk about?
I mean, those are the guys that, like I said,
really jumped out.
I think Chronicle was obvious, and apparently Google agrees.
Yeah,
that was just listening to us and just copied what we said. But
well, a couple of notes I have here is that director Rian Johnson said that the telekinetic elements of Akira was an influence for Looper. You remember that movie?
Oh yeah, that's
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right?
Looper. Okay, right? No, I was thinking of what's the other one with Anakin? Was that Jumper?
Oh yeah, Jumper.
Yeah, Looper.
No, Looper's the time travel.
Where Bruce Willis.
Yes. Bruce Willis and just Gordon-Levitt. Like that. Like without him saying that, I don't think I ever would have been like, oh, there's influence there.
I'd have to go back and even just watch that again. I remember seeing that and thinking it was kind of cool, but it did not burn itself into my memory for any reason. And it's got Emily Blunt in it too. How did I not?
Definitely, you're gonna put that on your list to watch.
Yeah.
But like Even did you ever see the movie Limitless
Was that the
with Bradley Cooper?
Bradley? No.
Okay,
The other
so
one, I think the one that I've seen that you haven't seen is Transcendence.
I've seen Transcendence.
Okay.
We can talk about
The
Transcendence.
Johnny Depp one.
I recently saw Transcendence.
Okay. I think the last time I brought it up, you had said you hadn't seen
Yeah,
it.
I saw it last week
There you
in
go.
anticipation of this. So
Gotcha.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I definitely could see the sharing of themes with that. Yeah. Again, it's aided by digital, but I think that's more because back in the early 80s, we weren't so obsessed with the idea of like our brains are really just biological computers and we're just machines. That it was more along the lines of spiritual uh, humans are special and things like that. So the idea that we can become better on our own power and on our own spirit was prevalent in that culture. Our culture today, we think, well, if we're going to get any better than it's a very transhuman concept. If we're going to get any better than this corrupt flesh that we have, we need help with digital technology.
Yeah.
And Transcendence is very much that.
I don't know why this.
Good movie though.
I just searched it differently. Films related to Akira movie. I bring back, of course, Chronicle Looper, Upgrade. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Upgrade? That's stretching it, dude.
Is it?
Upgrade? Yeah.
I'd have to watch it again. I've seen it one time, and it's like one of those things you can never find on streaming anymore.
Yeah. I've said before, okay, so I say Upgrade is a digital version of, or a technological version of Venom.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say Upgrade is reminiscent of Akira, you got to say Venom is reminiscent of Akira. And I don't see that. But again, you could be like, well, the fact that Venom's this amorphous blob creature, you can shove it in there if you want.
Do you remember Michael Shannon movie Midnight Special about the guy that's like fleeing with like a child that has like uncontainable power? It's again, I've only seen it like one time.
The name sounds familiar. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah. I think it's like little things like that are the things that Google tries to tie to it. It even ties like push. Psychic abilities hiding in a city.
Kind of like we were saying earlier, just because there's superpowers doesn't mean it's connected. Because like you have the whole American comic book industry that influences things.
And it says Inception.
Inception.
But it also, when you go back, it says anime movies that are tied to it. One of the first ones that it ties to it is Paprika. So I guess probably Inception and Google probably ties to it through Paprika.
I can see that. Paprika was inspired by Akira, and Paprika inspired Inception. Therefore, by the transitive property, sure.
Tectonicrete.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah.
I've never said that title of that anime aloud.
That one is kind of like kids in that decayed society thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like little pieces of it here and there. It's not like any real direct kind of things. Of course, it says Metropolis, which we'll get to that one. It says even Genro is probably not a bad comparison because Genro is like a police story in the in this kind of like world where you have out of control society and just rioting all the time and all that stuff.
I would say that if that was inspired by Akira, it's the elements that everything else is not inspired by.
Yeah.
Or it's not inspired by the same elements as everything else because there's no psychic power thing in general.
I think it's completely on the the political side of like Akira, where you have broken down society, you've got a corrupt government, you have domestic terrorism plots going on inside of
I'd have to rewatch it, but I
love Genro. We need to do a show on Genro.
I like finding films that could be in the same universe. Like I would like to watch Genro in the concept of like, could this have happened in the world of Akira?
There was something about Genro, I don't know if you know or if you remember, about it being banned at times or in places because of the riot scene at the beginning of it, like being like something that governments in a couple of countries they didn't like how that was portrayed.
I mean, I'm not surprised. They're probably Australia, and maybe England.
You come back to, I think it's like a really realistic, really intense, violent riot scene. But then you go back to the beginning of Akira where the guy's trying to shelter the little kid, and he's
that's pretty violent.
He gets gunned down like not 4 times, like 40 times by the military police and that. So
And I don't think we can finish talking about Legacy of Akira without talking about Redline, the giant baby and giant nuclear baby in Redline. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen Redline?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have not seen it recently. I remember
Okay.
we were talking about it with the stuff from the Animatrix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the baby part in there, honestly.
Yeah.
But it has that listed here
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It says highly kinetic hand-drawn racing anime with intense visuals. So
Yeah,
I guess that's
just the giant baby kind of like evokes the Tetsuo baby.
yeah.
That's it. That's it.
They even tie in Cowboy Bebop with just the gritty aesthetic of it. So I mean, again,
Yeah,
it depends on where you want to draw
they're stretching some of these.
It's where you want to draw your line on how much you want to connect something to it.
But, I mean, like that would be like Wild Wild West was inspired by the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's like no, come on.
I think it's probably trying to pull out things that are probably cyberpunk cities, and this Akira is one of the early versions of cyberpunk. Really,
I don't know if I can. I'm trying to think if I don't know if I would even really consider Akira. It's cyberpunk light, if anything.
This is a 1982 version of what they think Neo Tokyo in 2019 is going to look like. And
if they had like cyber decks or something like if because the computer stuff is just the government stuff and the citizen bike. Yeah. That's like the technology in the world. If they were running around with like little personal computers or something, I'd be like, okay, cyberpunk.
I think it's like even the advertisements and things on tops of the buildings and stuff aesthetically are a little bit like.
Well, is that not just how Japan looked with billboards and stuff? Neon billboards.
Yeah, I mean it kind of does now anyway.
Yeah, it does now. Maybe I don't know if it did then.
I don't know either. I don't know. You're kind of more the Blade Runner aficionado than I am.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Blade Runner was definitely just a takeoff of Japanese aesthetics.
This was written in 80, 82 through 90. When was Blade Runner again? Was that mid-80s?
The movie? Yeah, late 80s.
Late 80s. So a lot of, maybe it's the parallel creation.
Early 80s, 1982.
Okay.
So if there was inspiration, it was the other way.
Might have been the other way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. They don't even list Blade Runner here. I'm like,
interesting.
Wow, interesting. I'll list all this other stuff and not Blade Runner.
Go back to Limitless. In Limitless, Bradley Cooper's character takes a pill and he becomes like super smart.
Yeah.
It's more like kind of plot wise like Lucy.
Yeah.
And Lucy is another one. Lucy's very much she gets a drug and she transcends.
It's funny how
becomes something more.
Imagery for Akira is pills.
Mm-hmm.
So many things are. You see any kind of image. One of the should I just watch Akira? What other masterpieces should I watch? And beside it is a little picture of the pill.
Oh.
I guess that's one of the iconic images of that. And it's kind of funny that like the pill doesn't has anything to do with like any of the psychic powers. It was just an attempt.
No, it was just it was a part of the youth culture.
Yeah.
Of the time.
Yeah. And the pills were what they were doing to try to keep the city from blowing up because of.
I'm sure someone's written some paper or something where it talks about the pills being a source of control, and that's how they controlled the youth. And I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I said, I think you could. That's just what Google came with.
We're starting to be that guy with the bulletin board and a bunch of things on the bulletin board with the red strings going across them.
I could put it together.
Yeah.
I was just scrolling that through stuff that this kind of coming to mind as I've been sitting here and thinking like going back to Evangelion and Appleseed and stuff that I could find all kinds of ways to tie this to stuff if you give me enough time. So
and some of it you just get to the point to where it's just like kind of like saying, oh well, Beauty and the Beast is tied to the Little Mermaid just because they're from the same studio or they look similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some of the legacies of Akira.
You could probably do it in two ways. You could do these are the ones that kind of were really heavily influenced or drew their influence from Akira, and then you could do a separate list of these are the ones that you should watch because you liked Akira.
Right. Yeah.
Those are two different paths that I think these paths Google is mixing those two paths pretty heavily.
And I think the last thing I want to mention is actually the slide that we have up. It's the Akira slide. And all that is a little bit of fan service that has permeated so much of our media. You can go on YouTube and just type in Akira slide compilation or something like that, and it'll just show you a whole bunch of, like 1 second clips where they have, I think, pretty much all of its animation except one in Nope. You see it?
No.
Movie? Okay. In Nope, the main female character, she's riding a motorcycle at one point, and she does the Akira slide. I think that might be the only that I'm aware of.
I didn't see it when you pulled it up. I was getting ready to say it, and it's down here in the corner. Gindi
Obi-Wan.
The Gindi Clone War stuff.
Yeah. They did. Yeah, and in this it has the Nope as well. It's up there.
Oh, okay.
So apparently the Ninja Turtles, I didn't even know this. The Ninja Turtles had a slide apparently at one point, but yeah, it's everywhere.
There's probably a G.I. Joe one too.
I'm sure. I
go back through my old cartoons. There's probably one there.
Maybe I'll have to use that same motion replacer that I use to make our little characters dance. See if I can make them do an Akira slide.
Just put me on a Craftsman lawnmower.
There you
Akira slide on that. There's your Appalachian dim sum tie-in.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it for our look at Akira.
Yes. Yeah, I think when we come back our next episode, we're going to look at some of the other works from Otomo.
Yep.
And
let's finish up this segment and then we'll close out the episode.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back with the closing.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's all of our segments for Akira.
Yeah, and I love this image that we have in the background. That's almost like a little piece of everything from that movie all into like one big compilation image.
It's a great wallpaper.
Yeah, you can see that style. That once you start to see that as Otomo, you'll see anything else that he does and be like, oh man, that's Otomo. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the memories film and stuff. But yeah, when we come back, our next time we're going to talk about just 2 films, basically, right?
Pretty much.
I'm going to do Steam Boy, which is his last film, the last one from Katsuhiro Otomo.
And I'm going to do Metropolis. And Metropolis was one that he wrote but didn't direct.
Yeah. And was originally written by kind of the guy that inspired Otomo and everybody from his generation. He was kind of the OG of manga and anime, I guess. But
and one other thing I wanted to discuss really quickly, and didn't really fit in themes or legacy or anything like that, is the idea of a live action Akira. Have you ever heard about this?
I saw something about Otomo pre-COVID stuff, working on some sort of Akira 2 or maybe something else.
Akira 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I don't remember if it was another movie or if it was a series or something, and I don't know if that's even still exists or if that ever even got off the ground. And I have not seen anything about a live action one.
So here you go. This is what AI has given me. Apparently, Akira is one of those development hell situations. The first director of Attached was Stephen Norrington. I have no idea who that is.
No.
That was 2002 to 2003. Then Rory Robinson from 2008 and 2009 was attached to direct a script that would have set the film in a Japanese-owned New Manhattan. That would have been horrible. The Alan and Albert Hughes brothers were attached for a 2-part adaptation. This was 2010 and 11. They departed over creative differences. That's interesting because I would think if you're adapting someone else's work, there shouldn't be creative differences, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Then you have Juan Colette Serra from 2011-2015. He directed Nonstop. Okay. Taika Waititi, we know him.
I saw that face come up, and that 100% seals it for me. Do not make a live action. Leave it alone.
Right.
I hereby forbid anybody from doing anything else with it.
So, but the last time I was watching it, I was thinking about it in terms of like live action, and I think it would be a great live action film. But one of the things about watching Akira now versus watching it back in the 80s or 90s is Akira was very unique when it came out. It was something interesting and it was something new, like especially the visuals that they showed and the idea of like, the kids being experimented on and psychic powers, like all of that hadn't really been shown in like a movie form yet. Now, especially after all the Marvel stuff, any American that is plugged into uh, pop culture at all could watch Akira now and it wouldn't seem weird to them.
Yeah, no.
But someone in 1993 watching it, it'd be like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And they'd be confused probably. They wouldn't get the themes. But nowadays, it's kind of part of our culture.
I don't think even Akira is like one of those things I want to get into anime. What should I watch? I don't think I would throw it Akira at them first.
Right.
Depending on the person. If it was a guy in his 20s that listened to like rock and heavy metal and rode a motorcycle, then like, yes, watch Akira. If it was somebody that's like, I've got kids and I'm just kind of interested in like anime, where should I start? And be like, let me find some Ghibli movies to let you borrow.
Yeah, I think Akira is one of the, especially today, is one of those ones where it's like after you're into anime for a little bit, like if you've decided this is something I like.
Yeah. The body horror at the end and the kind of trippy stuff in the kids' room kind of thing is probably a little much for a first time anime watcher.
Yeah, this is 14, 15-year-old.
Yeah,
13 to 15.
Even a 30-year-old, if they never watched anime before, right. I'd be like, let's not start you there.
Show it to my grandmother, who was God rest her soul, but she was insulted by Forrest Gump. She thought that was too much. All right, Grandma.
I'm with Grandma.
All right, but that's it for.
I pulled up a thing here about live action and this is challenges. We're like finding the right script, budgetary concerns, potential whitewashing, and I'm like, don't do it.
You know, I mean, so if you're gonna make it, if that's a concern, if you're gonna make it, have a Japanese company make it.
Yeah,
make it in Japan,
and then stop other washing every white story that's out there. If you're gonna bring up whitewashing as a controversy,
yeah,
and stop changing everything else. Don't make Man-at-Arms into what he's not. He's a redhead. Dang it. So is Tila.
I saw an AI thing for He-Man, and they showed they're doing all these like if this movie was made in like the 90s, and they had Chuck Norris at Man-at-Arms as Man-at-Arms.
Oh my gosh. Who's my fighting guy?
Your fighting guy.
Don Fry.
Oh, okay. Don Fry. Let me look him up. I don't know.
I can find my picture on my phone. That's my screen cover.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. You've talked about him before.
He's not a redhead, but I mean, he's Man-at-Arms with dark hair. Yeah. He has the mustache.
You could dye his hair.
His mustache is already there.
What's he look like in 2026?
Old.
Old. Not too bad.
Yeah,
he's looking old, but
he's had a health journey.
Yeah.
From fighting.
Still got a great mustache though.
Yeah, Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
You take any of your iconic mustaches, and that would be your Man-at-Arms. But you have to remember, though, the original Man-at-Arms figure, one of the first ones that I bought when I was a kid, no mustache.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. That was a creation for the TV show.
Interesting.
So, but yeah.
All right. So on the next episode, we'll talk about, like you said, we're going to talk about the two of the films that Otomo made.
Yeah.
After Akira.
Get into Steam Boy and
Metropolis.
I'm gonna see if I can find a way to watch Metropolis again. I've seen it a long time ago.
Okay.
I've got Steam Boy here. Watched it a couple times recently. So, but yeah,
I think you can watch. It brought up the 1927 film when I asked that.
I found the same thing.
Okay.
I think when I was searching it on our Prime thing, it's like not available to rent or buy, so it wasn't even on the service.
Gotcha, man. If I knew that, I could have brought it.
Yeah, I'll track it down.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right. Well, hey, this has been fun. Akira is a fantastic movie. It's
gave us a reason to eat tater tots and chili.
That works. That I could always use a reason for that.
Don't know if you can see too. Randy brought his pretty amazing little Tetsuo.
It's a little Tetsuo statue.
I
actually also own the McFarlane figures, so I do have a Tetsuo with like the bulbous arm that's like jetting out, a Kaneda with the citizen bike, and a Akira on a throne, little Akira guy on a throne. But I didn't feel like slopping all those here. This was good enough. This didn't have accessories.
If I had a place left to do it, I would probably try to track down an Akira bike to put somewhere. That is pretty awesome.
It is a cool bike. And with that, thanks, Joel.
All right. later.